You might have seen this before. Two fruit trees sitting in pots, side by side. One looks tired, thin leaves, very little growth, even after many weeks. The other looks full and calm, green leaves, maybe even small fruit forming already. And the surprising part is both were given the same care, same water, same sunlight, same time. So what made the difference? It wasn't effort, it wasn't skill, and it wasn't luck. It often comes down to something much simpler. The kind of tree that was chosen in the beginning. If your own potted tree feels slow or stuck, you're not doing anything wrong. Many people go through this, especially in the early stages. There is a quiet pattern that experienced growers begin to notice over time. Some trees settle into containers easily. Others resist it, no matter how much attention they receive. And once you see that pattern, things begin to feel much easier. Before explaining why this worked, it helps to understand what makes certain fruit trees more comfortable in pots than others. When a tree grows in the ground, its roots have space to move freely. They can stretch wide and deep, searching for water and nutrients. In a pot, that space is limited, so the tree has to be naturally comfortable with smaller root systems. Some trees are like this by nature. Their roots stay more compact. They don't rush outward. They adapt to boundaries without stress. These are the ones that tend to do well in containers. Growth speed also plays a quiet role. Very fast-growing trees often need more space and more frequent care. Slower, steady growers are usually easier to manage. They don't ask for constant attention, and they stay balanced over time. There is also something called tolerance. Some trees adjust easily to small changes in soil or watering. Others are more sensitive. In a pot, where conditions can shift a little faster, that tolerance becomes important. When these three traits come together, smaller roots, steady growth, and gentle adaptability, the tree often settles in without struggle. It doesn't feel confined. It feels a home. And once you understand this, choosing the right tree becomes less confusing. It becomes more about matching the tree to the space you have, rather than trying to force a tree to behave differently. This is where things begin to feel more encouraging, especially for beginners. Some fruit trees are known for being forgiving. They don't react strongly to small mistakes. They grow at a calm pace, and they tend to do well even if you are still learning. Citrus trees are one example. Lemon or lime trees often adapt well to pots. Their roots stay fairly contained, and they respond well to sunlight near a window or on a balcony. Over time, they can even produce fruit in a small space, which feels very rewarding. Fig trees are another gentle option. They grow slowly and don't demand constant care. Their leaves are strong, and they handle container life quite well. Even if growth seems slow at first, they often settle in quietly and improve over time. Then there are dwarf varieties of fruit trees. These are naturally smaller versions of larger trees, bred to stay compact. Apples, peaches, and similar fruits can be found in these forms. They are designed to live comfortably in pots, which makes them easier to manage. What makes these trees helpful is not just that they grow in pots. It's that they forgive small delays or changes. If watering isn't perfect one week, they usually recover. If sunlight shifts a little, they adjust. This creates a calmer experience, one where you don't feel like you have to watch the plant every day. And over time, something interesting begins to happen. The pot itself stops feeling like a limitation. In fact, it becomes an advantage. When a tree grows in a container, you gain a quiet kind of control. You can choose the soil it grows in. You can move it closer to light or away from strong heat. You can even protect it during rough weather by bringing it to a safer spot. This kind of flexibility is not possible when a tree is planted in the ground. If the weather becomes too hot, a potted tree can be moved into partial shade. If the air becomes too cold, it can be placed indoors or near a wall for warmth. Even small adjustments like this can make a big difference over time. The soil can also be managed more easily. If it feels too heavy or slow to drain, it can be improved. If it dries too quickly, small changes can help hold moisture a bit longer. This doesn't require constant work. It simply allows you to respond gently when something feels off. For many people, especially those who prefer a slower pace, this kind of control brings comfort. It reduces the feeling of guessing, and it helps the tree stay in a more stable environment. There are also a few less obvious fruit trees that quietly do well in pots. Pomegranate trees are one of them. They are quite adaptable and can handle warm conditions well. Their growth stays manageable, and they often look beautiful even before fruit appears. Guava trees can also adjust to container life, especially in warmer regions. They prefer sunlight and steady warmth, but once settled, they grow at a calm pace. Another gentle option is the olive tree. While it may take time to produce fruit, it is very comfortable in a pot. Its roots do not rush outward, and it handles dry conditions better than many other trees. These trees may not always be the first choice for beginners, but they often surprise people with how steady they are. And once you begin to observe them, you notice that they follow a simple rhythm. They don't rush. They don't demand constant attention. They simply grow at their own pace. Climate also plays a quiet role in how these trees behave. In warmer regions, trees like citrus, guava, and pomegranate tend to feel more at ease. They enjoy the longer growing season and steady warmth. Growth may appear faster, and fruiting can happen more regularly. In cooler climates, things slow down. Trees may rest during colder months. Leaves might drop and growth may pause. This is natural. It doesn't mean the tree is failing. In these conditions, trees like figs or certain dwarf apples can still do well. They simply follow a seasonal rhythm. They grow when conditions are right and rest when they are not. If needed, pots can be moved to more protected areas during colder days. Even placing them near a wall or under a covered space can help reduce stress. The key is not to force growth, but to observe what the environment is allowing at that time. There are also a couple of small mistakes that can quietly slow things down. One is overwatering. It often comes from care and attention. But when soil stays too wet for too long, roots struggle to breathe. The tree may look weak, even though it is being cared for regularly. Letting the soil dry slightly between watering often brings better balance. Another common issue is using a pot that is too large. It may seem helpful at first, but too much empty soil can hold extra moisture. This again affects the roots. A pot that matches the size of the tree usually works better. It creates a more stable environment. These are gentle adjustments. Small changes that often lead to noticeable improvement without extra effort. There are also a few trees that take a bit more time, but reward patience in a quiet way. Dwarf mango trees are one example. They grow slowly in pots, especially at the beginning. But over time, they can settle in and produce fruit in warm conditions. Avocado trees can also be grown in containers, though they need time and steady care. Their growth may seem slow, but they develop strong roots and leaves over the years. Certain cherry trees, especially dwarf types, can adapt as well. In cooler climates, they follow a seasonal cycle, and fruit may come after a period of rest. These trees ask for patience, but not constant effort. They simply need time to adjust and grow in their own rhythm. And often, that waiting becomes part of the enjoyment. If you already have a fruit tree growing in a pot, you might notice that each one behaves a little differently. Some grow quickly. Some take their time. Some respond strongly to small changes, while others remain steady no matter what. If you feel like sharing, you can gently mention what's growing well for you right now. It can be helpful for others who are just starting out, and it often brings a sense of quiet connection. In the end, growing fruit trees in pots doesn't need to feel complicated. It begins with choosing a tree that naturally fits the space, then allowing it to settle, without rushing or over-adjusting. Small observations often matter more than constant action, and over time, you may notice something simple but meaningful. When you do less, and allow the tree to grow in its own way, it often gives more in return. That quiet balance is where the best results tend to appear.